What's up, guys? So today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a full disassembly of this beautiful X230T tablet and laptop all in one. So it is actually both a laptop and a tablet. So it has a touch screen here, an IPS screen, so it's a nice screen as well. This is going to be my personal device, and I recently got it, so it's never been taken apart. I can guarantee you the CPU paste is crusty, old, dry, and so I'm going to be replacing that today. But this is actually one of the trickier models to take apart, and for that reason, if you ever buy one, I guarantee you, unless they specifically mention it, they're never going to be repasting this CPU because of the way it's designed, and I'll be showing you the safe way to do that. So I figured I'd do this video just because I need to do it anyway. It's a nice overall tablet. I'm going to be keeping it for myself. It does have a little hairline crack there, but that doesn't bother me whatsoever. Because it's just going to be my personal device. So let's get started. Since it's a trickier model, I wanted to do a recording of this. So really all you really need is some screwdrivers, and you could have some optional things as well, like this, to lift this area up. Totally up to you. You could actually use a fingernail. You just want to be careful of that. You don't want to cause any damage. So let's go ahead and just get started and get right into it. This is going to be more advanced than some of the other models to take apart, and I didn't see a lot of good content on that, so I wanted to record the process. So if you ever get one of these anytime ever, it's important to know how to fully disassemble it, to repaste that CPU, because it is a rather small machine. Now, one downside of this is the CPU in it isn't easily changed. Unlike the models I usually work with, where I can actually, it's a socketed CPU in most cases, I can just swap it out, and sometimes I have to custom compile firmware for that, all depending on the CPU. But the thing about this one is the CPU in these X models is going to be not only soldered in, but it's also glued in, and that glue takes a very high temperature to loosen up, so you can cause damage. So it's a risky thing. You really have to have the proper setup for changing a CPU on a model like this. So I'm not going to be doing that, but I am going to show you how to take it apart for CPU repasting. So this is just a general disassembly guide, so make sure to bookmark this video if you have one, if you need to repaste in the future, and share this video. If this video gets a lot of views, I'll do more like it. I'm really going to, these videos take so long to make. I'm not going to be making videos that don't get many views at all, just because, I put sometimes 10 hours or more even into a video that is only 10 minutes long, just because of all the editing involved. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to want to do, take out all screws on the bottom side. There's also another screw here that goes right into the keyboard. So this screw actually goes through it, and it actually holds the keyboard down. So don't try to remove the keyboard until you have removed the screws that are going into it. Let's go ahead and get started, and let's get this thing taken apart. There's another screw right here. Now this one also goes in the keyboard. So there's going to be a screw here and a screw here that both enter the keyboard. So you have to ensure that those are removed before you try to slip out the keyboard. And I'll show you how to do that. And it's always a good idea to get a magnetic screwdriver. As you can see, I have a screw spinning around there. So I have two screws on this one at the moment. but helps prevent, and it's easier to pull them out. There we go, we got all the undersides. Looks like it. So now what I need to do, take out the keyboard. So to do that, I just take a thumbnail here and just get these little latches here. See these two little latches on this side, on each side? And what you want to be especially careful of is this ribbon cable that's underneath. Now the best way to do that is to kind of pull it forward, take a fingernail up under the clip. And the reason for doing that is because if you just pull on this, there's a good chance you'll tear it. And it's just safer to go up under the clip, snap it up with a fingernail. So I'll set that to the side for now. Now next, what do I need to do? Well, I need to take this apart. There's also some screws on top, so I'm taking a look around. I've done this a few times, so quite a few times, but I do want to just kind of point these things out. You don't want to rip this up. It does look like they're missing some screws on this one. And right here we have a magnetic stylus pen that comes out of the side. You just simply push it in, spring pops it out, and then pull it out. And that's for using on the touchscreen, but you can also use your finger on this model. So very nice model. Really, it's one of my favorite models, and I have wanted one. Now this is the same process if you have an X220T. So if you have an X230T or an X220T, they both have generally the same process. And you note what I did there. This is actually for the palm rest. This is all attached with this little blue ribbon cable. What you want to do is take a fingernail and just pull that black clip upward, and when it's upward, you can then just go under. You could use tweezers if you want to get fancy with it, but really you can just pull it out with your finger. And so next what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that palm rest off because I got all the underside screws. So what I'll do is go something like this, just to kind of be gentle on the corners here. So many of these have chipped corners for a reason, because people are too rough removing the palm rest here. So go ahead and just kind of pull it off gently. Take your time. Then we'll put this to the side. As you can see, there's that blue ribbon cable. All right, now we have the inside, the guts to look at. So now at this point, what am I going to hit next? Well, it's good to take a look around. What I'll do is I'll detach the CMOS battery here. Use 2 fingernails on each side, just gently, because I've broken some of these clips. It is easy to break, especially older computers. The plastic may be more brittle than it was. So you really got to be careful with that. And there are better ways to do that. I sometimes use tweezers. There we go. So I've unclipped that. You don't want to forget where that is. And next, what am I going to do here? Let's see what screws are still in it. All right, so let's take the Wi-Fi card off because I am going to be changing that out. So what I need to do here is I'm going to go ahead and single screw here holds it in. So with the antenna wire, what I did, I just took a fingernail and just pull it up, that's also something you can do. Just use your fingernail. So for most things, you just need the screwdriver for this. So if you're repasting your X220 or X230, some of these screws are really tight. You got to put some pressure down. If you don't put the pressure down, you're going to strip your screws. So you definitely want to add pressure when needed. If they're really tight, push down harder. So there we go. Remove the Intel Wi-Fi card, which I'm not a huge fan of. And so now at this point, we have these wires here. Antenna wires and the like. So what we need to do here, before we pull this plastic layer off, we want to first feed this through here. And just remember where they were. Kind of go backwards when you put it back together, so it's not too hard. But this is just the best practice. There's also a screw underneath right here. So you see that screw? I need to remove that screw as well. It looks like it was missing a couple. So there were usually screws here, so yours may be different. There may be a screw here to remove, screw here. And next what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the remaining screw here. Okay, we got that loosened up, and of course you got to be careful. This is all attached together, so it's been a little while since I've taken one of these apart, but because they are a rare item, they're a very rare item, so if you get a chance, to get one, see how that lifts up. So you can kind of go around. We're going to need to do some manipulation of this to get it all off. But really what you want to do is, of course, number one, don't break it. But what we need to do is we can twist this screen like so. And then you might want to take a tool like this and go around the outside. It's up to you. I'm used to using my fingernails, saves me a lot of time. And one of the reasons these are tricky, this part doesn't come off as easy as some models. And it also is very thin plastic, so it could very well break if you're not careful, especially something that's not, there we go. See, I just go up under it with my fingernail, make my way around here. And you also want to ensure, number one, that you're getting all those screws out first, because otherwise you're definitely going to break something. But it is always risky when you're taking this model apart. I mean, I've never personally broke one, but still going to be especially careful about it. Let's take a look at the bottom again. Okay. See, I missed 2 screws, and the reason that wasn't coming up, and so if something isn't giving, make sure you check the other side. Look for those screws, because I did miss them. I'm paying a little too much attention to the camera, and need really my full attention on this. And this is another tight one, so I'm going to have to just sit it down. I'm going to have to be out of view for a second just to get this out. Don't want to strip these screws. There we go. Put a lot of pressure on it because I don't want to strip them. And one more. And then I'll show you where I removed them once again. Alright, so now that I've removed all bottom screws, and anytime, if you're taking one of these apart, if you feel it's too tight, check the other side, look for any kind of attachment. So now that I've turned that screen a bit, let's go ahead and adjust this a little. Okay, there we go. Now, this is the back here, and I need to just go around it. Started doing that before I took that last screw out. Okay, there we go. It's actually not that difficult to remove, but you want to be very careful, and that's another reason to remove those wires, because that way, the wires won't tear, the antenna wire that is. And there we go. Set that to the side. Now, we can adjust it once again. And what we need to do is detach some of these here. So we're going to detach these by lifting up again, as we did with the previous ribbon cable. So just pull that upward. So you should have a little latch here that'll lift up, and then from this one, you can simply pull it out gently, making sure that this latch is up all the way as well on this one. And then you can do the same with that one. Just put those to the side. Now what I need to do, take some of these screws out. There's some screws that are holding this down. So get all our wires out of the way. Help share the video, help the channel grow, and I'll definitely be doing all kinds of videos, as the channel grows. So this right here, this is the Bluetooth. So taking that screw out, I can remove the Bluetooth quite easily. And next, I'm just taking a look around because it has been a little while since I've done one of these. And I just kind of pull up a little bit lightly to see where it's kind of got give and where it's too tight. And remove these. Some of these are super tight. And one of the main obstacles to removing this board here is one of these right here, some of these bolts on the side. So what you're going to want to do is get yourself one of these so you can open the bolts. There's two right here, right at the VGA port on the side. This is, like I said, this also goes for the X220T. So at this point, you know, I do a little feeling around, see what is removable. There's also manuals you can get. So if this video isn't detailed enough for you, there's also some manuals you can get. Now this screw in here as well, I'm going to remove. And be careful about it. I don't think this one's ever been taken apart because it appears the screws are so tight, they've been like corroded. And sometimes you're gonna need to really put some hard pressure on, especially on a model of this age where there may be some corrosion that is keeping it from coming off. And you know, if you don't have a magnetic screwdriver, you can kind of shake it out, because one of the biggest, you know, dangers here is if you have a screw and it's lost in here, if it hits part of the motherboard, you can fry, you know, blow a fuse, you can fry your motherboard that way. So you definitely want to ensure that before you ever apply power. And that is an important thing I should have mentioned, is remove your battery first, remove all power sources anytime you're taking apart your computer. But we just want to be especially careful not to break anything. There's a very thin part of the board here, so this can easily break. This part where the Ethernet port kind of sinks into the side of the casing of the laptop. You could also optionally remove some of these screws if you need to for any reason. This is the magnetic pen stylus holder, but we're not going to do that right now because we don't need to. Now, what's interesting about this is to repaste this one, you know, and the reason I say you're probably never going to get one where someone has repasted it unless they specifically promised you that they repasted it. And the reason for that is because this one's designed in such a way where on the other side of this board is where you're going to have to paste. So that means you have to fully remove the motherboard. Not only that, there's some very tight cords like this one where you're going to have to work upside down to remove those so you don't tear a cable. So there's a lot to think about on this particular model. If you buy one, you know, like I said, if you're interested in one, you can always reach out to me and I can let you know when it becomes available. Or I already have at the moment, ready to go core boot laptop. So if you're interested in that with Intel neutered, you know, it helps support the channel. So if you want to support the channel and get something cool in return, a really neat laptop that has Intel neutered, has a lot of other features and some custom modifications, some you won't find other places. So let me know if you're interested in one of those, but let's continue taking this apart. And so I've just removed these last two screws here. Now, these are very important. You're going to need to remove those bolts as well, of course. So if you're repasting your laptop, tablet, make sure you remove those bolts. Not all models require that, but this one does, unfortunately. So once I've removed these two screws, we can then, what we need to do is kind of wiggle it out. And keeping in mind that this side here is very fragile and thin, so we only have a thin bridge going across here, so it's kind of an all-in-one popping it out. Doing it very carefully because there's also an auxiliary right here for your headphones. And you want to kind of wiggle it out. This is going to be a little tight. You also have to take this, you know, you kind of have to get inside there to take this off as well at the same exact time. So it is a real pain to work on this model. And that isn't even over yet. That pain is not over. So you turn this upside down here. And what we want to do is, I'm just taking some fingernails to do it. You know, loosen that cable there. All right, so here we go. Now, keeping a close eye on everything, because you don't want to break anything. Notice I almost missed that one. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and remove that. There we go. So now we have removed the motherboard. It has been fully disassembled. At this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the heatsink. So this heatsink here, secured by these 4 screws. And also, I like to first remove the cable in my personal habit, just because you might forget it and then you might tear it. So might as well, while you're thinking of it, take care of that. Next, let's go ahead and remove the screws for this. I like to brace it underneath. You don't want to take a chance of breaking off a fuse or a capacitor or something. So, it's always a good idea. And like I said, a lot of these are old screws. Some of them may be very tight. Some may be corroded, depending how long ago you got your model. And if anyone has taken care of it, because a lot of people do not. So I'm going to remove all these, and then I'm going to repaste it. So once I have taken these screws, they're all loose. And also, of course, most important, removing this cable here so that you don't have to buy a new heatsink. Then I can gently remove this, and I already did because there was a ton of dried, crusted CPU thermal paste here. Now, there's also some on the heatsink side, and it is super dry to the point where, it doesn't even stick to you at all. So I can tell this one has probably never been repasted since the original purchase of it. Because it is such a pain to take apart, in my opinion, that you will never see them repasted on the market for the most part, unless someone specifically mentions it. Unless, of course, if you get a laptop from me, I always fully clean them inside and out. You can always reach out to me and let me know what you're interested in first. So, first I'm going to take some rubbing alcohol, I'm going to clean this off, then I'm going to repaste it, then I'm just going to reverse all my steps. So that's basically all you need to do. So once I've cleaned off this thermal paste, I'm going to go ahead and put it right back on as I found it. I'm going to reverse the order, and I'm going to slip this back in once I've attached this. Tricky part here is to get it all fitting. So I'll slip that side in, then I'll kind of squeeze this under, making sure to get that heatsink in. I'm going to attach those screws too, so I can get it out, and then I'll put the bolts back on, put all the screws back in. I will feed the antenna wire back through here as I put it back on, just as I took it off. So it's really just a reversal. I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you're interested in a Coreboot laptop, make sure to reach out to me and let me know what you're interested in, or check out the blog at the commission section. You can order different options there. So let me know what you think about the video, guys. Let me know in the comments if you like this video or not. And let me know what you think, and share the video, because growing this channel is going to lead to all different types of videos. I have a lot of different videos planned for the future, and I strategically release different videos depending on how fast the channel is growing. So make sure to share the video, guys. Help me grow the channel, and I will see you soon with a new video on how to protect your security and privacy.
How it's supposed to